Okay, let's try this again. Okay. Can you hear me? Here's chapter 1 of A Farewell to Earth, my first book. Chapter 1. In the Sol system, Flight of 12 Grumman SFA-28B Viper Y-Wing Starfighters fly patrol. On the lookout for any imperial intrusion into the heart of the Earth's home solar system. A member of a growing rebel alliance against a vast galactic empire. These small, nimble fighters have held the line against the Empire for some 20 years now, slowly being replaced by the more agile, smaller, faster T-Wing starfighter. Sorry, I had to get a drink. As the Empire also flies a botched copy of the Y-Wing, an early copy of its plans fell into Imperial hands, the Imperial Scorpion fighter. But unbeknownst to the Earth Defense Command, or EDC on Earth, a fleet of Imperial battle cruisers and super battle cruisers is en route to the outer reaches of the system, even as the flight of Y-Wings patrol. The Grumman SFA-28B Y-Wing is the top fighter in the Rebel Alliance. It is some 7 meters long, from nose to engine exhaust, by 5.4 meters high by 4 meters wide, from wingtip to wingtip. It's called the Y-Wing due to its distinctive inverted Y shape, the wings and vertical tail. It's propelled by a pair of twin General Electric J318B ion pulse fusion hyperjet engines, capable of propelling the fighter to 2.78 warp and Mach 10.5 in normal space. It is armed with twin Arlight 35mm blaster cannons in the leading edges. Excuse me a moment. Okay. Leading edges of the wings and twin missile pods, one forward of the cockpit, one situated between the engines. Cockpit navigation system is linked to a built-in astromech droid directly located behind the cockpit. The flight controls are fly-by-wire and have a glass cockpit with no analog gauges. The pilot has an excellent field of vision with a large bubble canopy. The Y-Wing was introduced ahead of its scheduled production date due to the arrival of the new Imperial Scorpion fighter, which is a botched copy of the Y-Wing when a copy of the plans fell into Imperial hands. At the time of its introduction, the rebels were flying the older, bulky T-15A Talon fighter bomber. The Scorpions were winning encounter after encounter over the Talon. So the Y-Wing was rushed into production just in time, too. Red 9 to Red Leader, Skipper. You see what I'm seeing on scopes? Lieutenant Tam Baker calls over his hyper radio as he looks at his flight panel's hyper radar scope. showed multiple blips coming out of hyperspace. And it kept popping up on his screen. Roger that, Red 9, Commander Aaron Toms says in response, but then she's engaged by a swarm of 50 scorpions before she's allowed to alert on plate. Everyone stick to your wingman. We got company. Lock and load, ladies. Static. Then. Red leader to home plate. Come in, over. Home plate to red leader. Respond, over. We are undirected. Response comes only to be cut short. Static is now filling the speakers and headphones. Damn. Captain Iron Crank says flatly. The same static fills the overhead speakers of Pluto Command Headquarters. He reaches out to kill that static by flipping a toggle switch in the console in front of him. Give me a pinpoint GPS location of Red Group for Red Group. Now, he yells at his second in command and to all base personnel working in the command center at the time. Plotted and on the board, sir. Commander Nix Hawkins Doyle responds in a moment later. And a red spot appears on a vertical flat digital board in front of the crank. Displays the outer reaches of the solar system and the Kuiper belt. Damn, far side of the system too, Crank says flatly in a soft growl as he plotted the position relative to Pluto base, or squadrons ES5 and ES6 relative to Red Group. On the big screen, a green dot marked as ES6 pops up close to planetoid E178A, not even close to Red Group. A blue marker appears for ES5 on the screen close to its own base on Pluto. Only a few ships are in patrol in the Kuiper belt, but most are moored at the base itself, and all he has 25 warships and 5 wide-wing squadrons and 2 U-wing squadrons on standby here at the base. Get the squadron commanders on the horn now, Nix. Let them have a possible Imperial invasion of the Sol system. Give them a GPS location for Red Group. Tell them to be armed for battle. Crank says flatly, barking out orders to put the station on a red alert now. Aye, sir. Commander Hawkins Doyle says. In seconds, blaring alarms go off throughout the base, and more HQ personnel report to their mostly automated stations in the command cavernous room. And gun ports spring to life and open as giant cannons and missile launchers rise from the ice field called the heart of Pluto. And the remainder of ES6 lifts off in a burst around the periphery of the base. How many enemy vessels do you have coming out of hyperspace, Lieutenant? Crank asks his chief of hyper radar operations. The current rate of default, sir. I have 200 battle cruisers, 5 of their super battle cruisers, and 2,000 of their Scorpion fighters, and more coming out of hyperspace as we speak, the lieutenant calls out. Sir, a fleet of ships is coming out of hyperspace directly above us. Damn. Crank mutters. Begin Operation Delta Bravo. Repeat, Delta Bravo. He calls over the command set as he watches some 300 plus Imperial vessels defolding on the board in front of him. And a squadron of some 75 Imperial warships appears directly above his head in orbit. Operation Delta Bravo is a last-ditch effort to try and save as many ships as possible in the Pacific Fleet in times of the Imperial incursion into the system, just in case they encounter an overwhelming fleet of Imperials just like this, and get them into the inner system to link up with the Atlantic Fleet. The surviving vessels would rendezvous at Europa and the Jovian system, to then try to hold off the Imperial fleet as best as possible. Some individuals may attempt to infiltrate the inner workings of the system, but this attack was very overwhelming, 300 plus and counting. But the defending fleets are joined by ES-7 from Neptune base, but still that's only 45 against 300 plus. Sorry, give me a moment. On the SS Eagle, an old TY 1520B tramp cargo carrier, some 2 hours out of the Sol system, in the Norfolk Naval Shipyards, en route to the Alpha Centauri system, some 6 light years away. Oh my God, Captain Sepp Dietrich growls. What is it? 18-year-old Stephen T. Spears asks. The Empire has begun a full invasion of the Sol system, the German says flatly. It just came over the Newsnet. 400 ships, maybe more, and the ADC doesn't even have half that number to hold them back. That's what's up. Damn. 75-year-old man, only as Tegas says. Sorry, give me a second. We turned back for home, Skipper. First mate Natuk, an 8.5-foot tall Nagano warrior from Centauri Prime, chimes in as he pulls down the bill of his favorite baseball cap, a red baseball cap with a cursive W on the front. Negative. We continue with our missions of Centauri Prime, Dietrich says flatly. Besides, they've begun Operation Delta Bravo, which means that any ships that enter the system now will be fired upon. No questions asked. They all sit in a narrow oblong-shaped cockpit as they watch streams of stars stream past in long colored lines through the clear Lexan glass cockpit windows on the overhead target monitor between the pilot and the co-pilot seats. What do you think the EDC's chances are, Captain? Tegas asks. Slim, considering the size of the invading fleet. But I know they will put up a fight as best they can, Dietrich says as he set the Eagle's auto navigation system on and leaned back in his plush leather command chair. I just hope there are no more surprises in store for our people back home. All 4 men retired to the crew compartment behind the steel sliding blast door. It separates the cockpit and crew compartments from possible battle damage to the ship and explosive decompression, destroying the ship and its crew and passengers. Just before departing the large, wide, cone-shaped, oblong cockpit, they passed an arms locker on one side, bulkhead, the port side, and a first aid kit on the starboard side. It'll be several hours before we reach Centauri Prime. Just relax and enjoy the ride, Dietrich says. He sits back, essentially positioned easy chair situated in the center of the spacious crew compartment. It sports a med bay, a couple compartments for Dietrich and Natuk, a food dispenser, navigation station, and a couple bunks built in on the compartment side. Well, the remote targeting system for the ventral and dorsal guns. At the rear of the compartment is the cargo hold and engine room. Stephen, who just turned 18 just a month ago, now goes and lies down in the lower bunk at the rear port side of the compartment. He just found out 2 days before he was not born on Earth, but was born on the Imperial throne world, Ukrania Prime. Tegas had Don't tell this information on him. He's still trying to fathom the reality of the situation, but then Tagos was a bit of a hermit who lived in the deep woods of Virginia's Blue Ridge Mountains. Okay. Rest for a minute. Okay. He is an odd sort. He kept to himself for the most part, rarely coming into town unless into Ruckersville for supplies. Stephen considers himself one of Tagis's best friends, or as close a friend as Tagus would allow. He found that his real parents were dead. His father was the last freely elected chancellor of the Galactic Free States, GFS. Now the more sinister Galactic Empire. He'd been born on the global metropolis, Macronia Prime. As far as he knew, his real mother, Princess Erwina, had died with his real father, but she is the dreaded dark ninja Levnoski, who killed his father, then tried to kill him and his twin sister. He has no idea whether he has a fraternal twin sister or where she is either. He'd been taken from Ukrania Prime and secreted to Earth, the birthplace of the GFS. Now located to Ukrania Prime in the Large Magellanic Cloud, or LMC. But that was centuries before he was even born. But he does have a half-sister, Bonnie H. Spears, a dreaded bounty hunter, also known as Lone Wolf. She works currently for the Empire, but works for only the profit that all bounties bring her. She left a year before Stephen was even born, so neither has any idea the other exists. Okay. I pray Mom and Dad are okay, he says to himself, as he looks at a three-dimensional holographic pad image of them in his bunk. The only family he's ever known his whole life, only to find out he was not even born on Earth. Nope. Only sorry. Give me a second. Operation. Sorry. Hold on one second. Too far. Back in the Sol system on Earth and Mars and the other colonies, Operation Exodus is getting underway as word of the disaster befalling the Pacific Fleet reaches the inner system. The nearly 7 billion beings living there, and every available hyperspace-capable jump ship is assembled at every spaceport on Earth, and thousands of men, women, and children line up to get off the planet, hoping to get onto any ship capable of hyperspace flight. Sorry, give me a second. All right. Operation Exodus is the last-ditch emergency evacuation of the Earth of as many men, women, and children as humanly possible, but the operation is over 100 years old and has never been needed till now. At previous times, the EDC fleets have been able to repel any Imperial incursions into the system. Sorry, not this time. They are facing some 400 or more starships plowing through the system. But so far, the battle in the outer solar system is going badly for the EDC fleet. Of the 120 or so ships in the Pacific Fleet, they've lost almost 65 ships to the Empire's 4. Titan still holds on, but by his fingernails, but just barely. Well, Neptune and Uranus were bypassed for now. While the Atlantic Fleet near Mars tried to repel the Empire as best it can, and hopefully stop the Imps, as rebels love to call them, from reaching Earth. At the same time, continue with Operation Exodus. Earth's president has vowed to remain on Earth till the very last moment. Then she'll evacuate to an evacuation vessel to keep the people's hopes and spirits up. Okay, sorry, give me a second. Now, Terraform colonized Mars, inhabited by millions. They hold back some of their squadron of warships on a possible attack on the rear of the Imperial fleet. Okay. All right, I'm going to take a break for a second. The president still sits in an ancient but modern Oval Office in the White House in the Washington, D.C. metro area. The structure is now over 1,000 years old and still standing proudly. She is still issuing orders and talking on the net to the people of the Earth and Mars and their colonies and bases. In one area of the room, a tall Christmas tree stands. It's a real tree, not one of the holographic fakes that previous presidents use. The date, December 23rd, 3031. 2 days before Christmas. She brought the tree in from Sorry, give me a second. Where was I at? Sorry, I lost my count. She brought the tree in from the pine forests of Virginia, her native home, and her grandchildren came in to decorate it using real ornaments too. Madam President, I have Dr. Carol Burke from JPL on the line. She says it is urgent, very urgent, her chief of staff says over her desk intercom. Put it through, Pierre, the president says. In its orbit beyond Luna, Earth's natural satellite, the James Webb Space Telescope, now over 1,000 years old and operating perfectly even after so long in space, and many upgrades, of course, has picked up a rogue comet entering the solar system, following the course set by the invading Imperial fleet. It is a rather large comet, almost as big as Luna itself. The size of the comet is not the problem. It's emitting radio signals, Imperial radio signals. And these signals are not naturally occurring. They seem to be directed at the invading Imperial fleet. The people at the Jet Propulsion Labs in California, JPL, have told the EDC and their president of the coming threat. The EDC is located in the Himalaya Mountains of Tibet, alerting them of the new threat, whatever it may be. Hold on. But Starfleet. Sorry, I'm losing where I'm at. But Starfleet Command is tasked with the problem at hand, and now this. The EDC, JPL, and now the President have no idea what this comet is not. The EDC, JPL, and now the President have no idea that this comet is not a comet per se, but is the Empire's new secret weapon, the Dark Star, a battle station the size of Earth's moon. Well, enough firepower to obliterate an entire planet with one shot. It was headed directly towards Earth. Sorry, give me a moment. The Imperial fleet has reached Jupiter, still 300 to 400 strong, whereas the Pacific Fleet has barely 55 ships left of some 120 ships when the Empire began the invasion. So few ships survived the Starfleet's overwhelming barrage, and now there were many clouds of debris where once great ships fought and made their last stands. At Titan, one of Saturn's moon, the Empire was just bombarding the EDC naval base from orbit, and still the Earthlings were holding their ground. The base commander was hoping, praying that Earth and Starfleet would save him and his base. But he knew these prayers were hopeless. Every time the Empire demanded his unconditional surrender, he just said, "Nuts," making the Imperial commander even angrier. With the bases at Uranus and Neptune, at the bases at Uranus and Neptune have been bypassed, the squadrons were long gone, either debris fields or sorting to Jupiter and try and stop the Empire from reaching Earth. Okay, hang on. All three base commanders on Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune watched the approach of this comet to the system and watched in horror as the comet started to slow down in the void between Jupiter and Saturn. They're all like, "What the hell? What do you mean it's slowing down?" I mean, just that, Madam President. The comet appears to be slowing down. Dr. Carol Burke says, confused too, as she stood before the president on her desk via a 3D holographic image. "Comets do not slow down," the president says flatly, confused. "No, they do not, but this one is." Big flat screen monitor hangs down from the ceiling before the president's desk, and a 3D image appears on the monitor of the solar system, and a long line showing the comet's trajectory and its intended target appears on the screen. Along one side of the monitor, a second-by-second update appears, using data compiled by the JWST and the Hubble 3 optical space telescope. Okay. So its intended target is Earth, not flying around the sun like a normal comet, correct? The president asks incredulously. "Yes, Madam President," Dr. Burke replies. "We just got a geothermal image of the composition of this comet. This thing, whatever it is not made of rock and ice. We detected a large-shaped metallic object at its globe at its core. This thing is an artificial construct, man-made. The latest images and data appear on her monitor to show her the president. This comet was man-made, and it was slowing down, not stopping, just slowing down in the near void between Jupiter and Saturn. Do you have a picture of this comet?" the president asks, now worried. "Here you go, directly from the Hubble 3 itself," Dr. Burke says, as a clear, almost crystal clear image appears on the monitor. And it was spinning like a comet's core is known to do. The Hubble has also picked up the faint hint of heat dissipating from the dark side of the comet. So whatever we're going to be facing is trying to make it appear to be a comet. Her image flickers for a moment on her desk. "What is this thing then?" the president asks. "We have no idea so far, madam," Dr. Burke says. "Keep me updated as more refined data is brought in," the president says. "Yes, Madam President." Her image dissolves on her desk. Okay, take a break. Okay. All right. Sorry. Give me a moment. Okay. We shall wait for 24 Earth hours till the fleet's softened up the EDC fleet. Then we shall move in for the kill. Dark Ninja Levnosky rasps out through the breathing mask she wore over her mouth, nose, and left eye as she stands on the command deck of the Dark Star, the Empire's most deadly weapon, one hand resting on the hilt of her samurai sword. As she watched the pathetic defense these humans were making against her vastly superior Imperial fleet. All on an 8-meter high by 8-meter wide monitor. Excuse me. She watches as some enemy vessels hold their ground while others try to flee into the asteroid field kilometers away. But they are chased by Imperial battle cruisers. Some 55 EDC ships to retreat to Jupiter. 20 managed to retreat into the asteroid field between Jupiter and Mars. An EDC command base on Europa, the big icy moon, which is now being constantly bombarded from orbit. At the same time, the surviving EDC ships do their best to hold the line. Okay. Dark Ninja Levnosky knows that the Earth has fewer than 200 capital ships of all classes to defend the entire solar system, but does have that hated newer Y-wing to send against the Scorpion she now commands. She also knew that they carried a much heavier punch to her Scorpions, armed with cannons and missiles too. But the Scorpion and the Y-wing almost look exactly like inverted Y-wings and vertical tails. Lubnowski is a former samurai master. Her real name is Princess Orwina of the House of Centauri Prime, who had once been the queen and first concubine of the last freely elected chancellor, Michael Spanlighter II. But she'd been seduced by his former vice chancellor, Nataly Selivanov, now emperor of the feared Galactic Empire. He was a dark ninja who'd been biding his time before he could strike and take power. From the much and adored Chancellor Spanlighter, a powerful and well-loved chancellor of the old GFS. She lives her life in an all-black armored bodysuit. Only the lower half of her face, nose, mouth, and left eye are covered by prosthetics to help her breathe and see. She lost her left eye, her right sword arm, and both legs in the Great Purge some 20-odd years ago, when she and the now Supreme Emperor went out and hunted and killed any galactic samurai, students included. She'd even assassinated her husband with the same weapon she still carries at her side today. Little does she know that she has 2 children, a twin son and daughter. Both should be around 18 now. As far as she knows, they died when the palace they were sheltered in was set ablaze. But she has no idea that her son is one Stephen T. Spears, future rebel pilot and hero. Her daughter is unknown. They've both been spirited away from the fire by Tegus, another Grandmaster Samurai. Stephen would grow up on Earth with his human family. His sister, well, Levnosky's task is with eradicating all vestiges of the old galactic free states, and it would start with Earth, the birthplace of the GFS. Then move out from there to the Alpha Centauri system and Centauri Prime. Back on Ucrania Prime, the Empire has even recently disbanded the Imperial Senate, last vestige of the old GFS. Looks like the Earth fleets are being cut to pieces, Steven Spears says, as he can still receive live feeds from Earth News Network. Live. The news is still ongoing, but it's all bad news everywhere. It's a bad day for mankind, Sepp Dietrich says as he sips coffee and watches the news. Tegas and Natuk, both not native to Earth, can only watch in grim silence. Tegas walks over and rests a hand on Stephen's shoulder to reassure him. Stephen shudders as he worries about his parents still trapped on Earth. According to the latest estimates, an estimated 550,000 men, women, and children have boarded 45 civilian ships capable of jumping into hyperspace out of an estimated 7 billion beings on planet Earth. 100,000 are off the planet Mars as per Operation Exodus. Sorry, give me a second. Word is spread that the Earth president will remain on Earth to the last possible moment and board whatever ship is close to hand, and they had just gotten onto the SS Legend of the Universe, but that was just, what the hell? Dietrich says suddenly, his large TV monitor on the bulkhead goes blank. No static, no noise, nothing. Oh. Tegas groans out as he collapses into an easy chair suddenly. What is it, Tegas? Stephen asks, concern in his eyes, his voice worried now. I don't know. I had this uneasy feeling, fear, dread. And billions of voices screamed out, then nothing. The old man says, rubbing his forehead. He shook his head to clear his mind. Whatever it was, old man, we're not getting any signal from Earth now, Dietrich says, as he's channel surfed using his hand to swipe in front of the monitor, but every non-Earth channel was dark. Not even a test signal, or please stand by, or static or noise, just an empty black screen. That is it, my friends. If you got this far, I appreciate listening to my reading my first book. That was chapter 1 of my book, A Farewell to Earth. I'll get back to you as soon as I can with chapter 2. Thank you. Wow. This was my first time reading my book. I want to thank everyone who ever got this far. Thank you. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. If not, I'm sorry, but please leave comments. I will read them as fast as I can, and I will respond. Whether good or bad, I appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.